Okay, I am here with Jim Page. We just met about 10 minutes ago, but we've spoken a few times, and I'm really excited about this because some of you at Totally Guitars should be familiar with him because of a song that I put up a lesson on a long time ago, the Ivory Salamander. We'll get into that probably later. I got about 400 other things I want to talk about first that I think are, well, more personally important to me because it turns out Jim and I were taking guitar lessons from a phenomenal teacher named Beilharz back in the late 60s until Alan went into the Army in 1969. And until I spoke to him last night, I actually had no idea. I was 13 at the time. I had no idea why I stopped taking guitar lessons. When people ask me, well, how long did you take lessons? I said, I don't know, until I was 12 or 13. And they said, well, why'd you stop? I said, I don't really remember. When he said he went in the Army in 69, I thought, that's why he disappeared. Yeah. And I was just either on my own path at that point or something and just decided, to not look up another teacher. My first teacher, Bill Monday, had already sent me to Al, and I was heartbroken. I was like 11 years old. I've been taking lessons from Bill for 2 or 3 years, and he said, Neil, I think I've shown you everything I can. I need you to take lessons from somebody else. And I was in tears, like, Bill, what did I do wrong? Something like that. Now having taught for 40 years, I see the logic in that, and I appreciate him for it, and I really appreciate the fact that I got to know Alan. But again, once he went out, I don't think I ever saw him again after he went into the Army. Because I know he came back to Los Gatos, and I think you were probably in touch with him when he returned.
Well, I saw him a couple of times. What happened to me was Al was great for a number of reasons, and one of the primary reasons he was great was because he was also a player. He wasn't just a teacher.
Right.
So you could go to a gig and you could see him play, and then you could go take a lesson from him.
Yeah.
So you knew that he knew what he was talking about. Right. It wasn't just it wasn't just out of a book somewhere. And I had taken some jazz guitar lessons. My original hero was Lightnin' Hopkins.
I saw your song about Lightning.
Yeah,
that was very cool.
Texas blues singer.
Yeah.
And it wasn't the fact that he played the blues.
Wait, how old were you when you heard him
15.
in the first place? Okay.
15.
And that was before you ever took lessons from Al?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I first took lessons from a jazz guitar player, because, well, there were no blues teachers that I knew of. I didn't know very much at all. But it said on the record jackets that Lightning was accepted by the jazz community. So I thought, okay, then the jazz player would...
And was that a teacher around here?
Yeah, but I'm not going to get it.
Okay, that's fine.
Anyway,
so you grew up around here?
Yeah, I did. I grew up in Cupertino.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's all. Yeah.
So I took lessons from this guy for about 6 months. Learned my chord shapes and how to hold a pick and everything like that. And I realized it wasn't going in the direction I wanted to go in, so I brought in at this time I'd also gotten into John Lee Hooker, old solo John Lee Hooker, where he accompanied himself by tapping his foot on a piece of plywood. See, I mean, this is the real stuff.
Yeah.
So I brought in a John Lee Hooker record. There was a song I wanted to learn called the Madman Blues.
Okay.
And I brought it in, and I asked him, after the lesson, this one particular day, could you teach me this song? We went downstairs to where they had the stereos, and he and 2 other jazz teachers crowded around. We put the record on. They all looked at each other, and they doubled over laughing. Okay, and I was really, really insulted.
Yeah,
I was 15 years old. I was really insulted and pissed off.
Yeah.
And I just packed up everything and left, and I never went back. And I might have even given up the guitar, at least for that couple of weeks. But friends of mine in high school and myself started talking about putting a jug band together, and I was the only one that had a guitar, so I had to be the guitar player. I wound up being the leader of the jug band. But if there was a leader, which there really wasn't.
Yeah.
But anyway, then somebody took me to my first coffee house, which was the Brass Knocker in Saratoga. And I was completely blown away. That turned.
And you're still only 15 or 16 now.
Yeah, that's 15 and a half. It turned my world upside down for the second time. First time was when I heard Lightning turn it up. And it was his singing. It wasn't his playing. It was the way he sang.
Yeah.
He was a beautiful, fabulous, transparent singer. His true self came out right into my life. It was amazing. I had never heard anybody do that before.
Yeah.
You don't learn that in college. Okay? So, anyway, I went to that place, and it was great, and I went back the next night to see, I brought a whole bunch of friends of mine over, and Al was playing.
At the Brass Knocker?
Yeah, at the Brass Knocker.
And you had never heard of him? You didn't,
no, I had no idea who he was.
On a poster there?
I found out, a little time went by, the jug band, I remember, I'll never forget, the jug band, we brought the jug band down to play the open mic at the, and we were high school kids. Geez, I was probably 17 at the time.
So it wasn't a bar, you didn't have to be 21 to get in there.
No, it was a
little
coffee house, big as this room.
Okay.
And the open mic took place in the afternoon, like,
okay.
I don't know, 3 o'clock or something, whatever it was. And
yeah.
There was nobody there except one beatnik character with a cigarette, and Al, who was the MC, and then we walked in.
Okay.
This is my memory anyway.
Okay.
But I do remember that we were awful. I mean, we were high school kids.
Yeah.
We were really awful.
He was still probably relieved to see somebody come in to play.
Well, I don't know, but he was.
Because
He was annoyed by us. We were really, really bad, and it annoyed him. I know that.
Okay.
It annoyed him. And then, because I really wanted to learn how to play the guitar. And I wanted to go in that folk direction. Okay, that's where I wanted to go. Acoustic guitar, singing songs.
Right.
Songs could save your life. I kind of knew it on an instinctual level. So, I found out where Beilharz taught. I don't know where it was. It was in Los Gatos, somewhere near Bill Monday's studio.
There were 3 places. I think he wasn't with Bill Monday when you found him?
No, maybe, I don't know.
Because Bill opened up the studio to Al, and the two of them had like adjoining rooms.
Could have been.
Yeah.
But I signed up for lessons. He didn't recognize the name or anything. I walked in, and he said, I quote, this is a direct quote, I'll never forget, he said, "You." That's what he said.
My nightmare just came true.
I thought, okay.
What does he mean?
But I was really hungry, and I was really fast. And he would give me a song, and I would go home and learn it like in an hour.
Mm-hmm.
And then I said, well, I wanted more.
What do I do for now?
I wanted more. So I wound up taking 2 lessons a week.
Okay.
Okay. And then one day, I don't remember what the song was. I came in with my lesson all ready, whatever. And when I finished playing it for him, he said to me, I don't know any more songs. So it was kind of like, I didn't cry this time.
Yeah.
Something fell out of the middle. Oh.
Yeah. What do I do now?
It was one of the best things that could have happened, because what you do then is you go to gigs. Okay? Because you can only learn so much at home or in the studio or wherever. The rest you have to learn outside. So you go to gigs. Yeah. So I was going to the Brass Knocker already. So then I was going to the Wine Cellar and the Shelter, and there's a place up in Palo Alto. I went to the Tangent and so on, up and down the peninsula in Santa Cruz and all, and I was going to gigs. And when you go to gigs, I would sit right down front and I would watch and I would learn their repertoire. Billy Dean Andres, I learned his repertoire. Chris Ramey, I learned his. Michael O'Connor's. All these people's repertoires, I learned their stuff. Not all of them, but the songs that touched me.
Right.
And I liked what they were doing with their hands. I had like a photographic memory, and I would watch their hands, and I'd go home and I would try it out. Okay, God, what did he do there? What did he do there? What did he do there? Go back the next time, wait for that song. Oh, there it is. Oh, that's what he did. Like that. So I lifted all these people's things. So it was the best thing that could have happened when Beilharz said, I don't know any more songs. You're on your own now.
Yeah.
Then when he went into the Army, he wanted to give me his students, his best students. And I took them, and I don't remember how many of them there were, 5 or something. And it was just not what I wanted to do, because I was still trying to figure it out. I wasn't, and none of them really wanted to learn to play guitar.
Right.
They were spinning their wheels, they were biding their time, they were having fun, they were spending their parents' money.
Yeah, being babysat sometimes too.
They did not want to learn to play the guitar like I wanted to learn to play the guitar.
Yeah.
So eventually, it's like I kind of maybe Monday or wherever the studio was decided that they had to move or whatever. But I remember telling them all, I have to leave this place. I don't know what I'm going to do yet. I'll contact you when I know. And I just kind of went on. I mean, I just threw myself into playing full time.
Yeah.
I taught myself to flat pick. I had this like rhythm way of flat picking, which is a combination of a lot of different things that I've heard. It's kind of my own thing, and I taught myself how to do that. The finger picking, I originally got from Al, and then I went on to. It took me years to learn to stop my thumb. My thumb was always going boom, 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 boom.
So you got to alternate.
Couldn't stop it.
Right. That
took me a long time.
Everybody kills to learn first, and then you're right. So
and I've tried to go off of finger picks. I just don't like it. I like the pick. I like the sound of finger picks. And these are what I use now most of the time. The pro picks, and they leave the finger pad open.
Yeah.
So you can be delicate,
Yeah.
And you can also get a really good.
Yeah. The fading sound of the heavy. Yeah.
But you don't get the squeak and the slap.
Right.
From the regular ones, which I still use sometimes. It depends on the song. I don't know, it depends, because your fingers change. They swell and they shrink and everything else. You always have to readjust, and sometimes, for whatever reason, these just aren't working for me. So I've got a box full of different picks.
Yeah. Wow.
I use them, but I just don't want to do my nails. I don't want to do all that stuff.
Yeah, I go to great lengths to keep them keep them working, you know. And it's sometimes a lot of trouble. And if one, I mean, I do most things left-handed, even though I'm right-handed. It's like I'll never reach my right arm into a cupboard or any. I just like, you know, it's like just anything that could hurt the nails. And I'm lucky to have relatively hard ones. You know?
Well, I've known people. An Irish friend of mine. I remember just before a gig up in Seattle had broken a nail. And he was freaking out. He had to go out and get like L'Oreal fake whatever and sit there at the bar and put his. And I'm watching him thinking, why didn't you just use finger picks?
Yeah.
Or something. I mean, this is crazy. You know, Michael Hedges used to use ping pong balls.
You know, yeah.
He would cut them into shape and he would put them on. And that's all fine. He was a fabulous player.
He could get away with it, yeah.
But I just want to put this thing on, put these things on, then take them off.
Yeah, and not
and go off and do something else.
There's a video on James Taylor's website.
I heard about this. Where he shows his hand underneath.
Unbelievable. Oh, but the one, which is kind of silly. I mean, seeing the strings from inside the guitar is limited usefulness, I think. But it's, I mean, they've got a camera inside. But there is an interesting video of him explaining nails and going through this whole meticulous thing with all kinds of carcinogenic, you know, chemicals and things like that to get his fake nails done, and he'll do his own to make sure he's got them exactly the way he wants them, you know. But that's another one of the videos on his site that is.
That's fine, you know, whatever you want to do.
Yeah.